Don't grow up. Love your inner child. I write to my younger self all the time, and I hope my younger self is proud of me, because I'm proud of me. I'm Gerald JJ Knapp from Schenectady. I am currently 37 years old. I work at Mohawk Honda, and I help run the detail department at Mohawk Honda, where we go out of our way to please you. I believe the date was May of 2016. I believe it was April or May of 2016. It was right around that time of year. I probably still have the hospital band somewhere hidden in my junk drawer, but like that was around the date, I believe. But I woke up and something just wasn't right. It felt like there was a bowling ball on my chest. And I called my mother and I said, I need to talk to you. So she came and she spoke to me. And while I was talking to her, I told her in some way, shape, or form, I don't want to be here right now. And I wasn't talking suicide. I wasn't talking hurting myself. I just didn't want to be who I was at that current moment in life. And with saying that, a red flag was raised for her, because like any caring mother, I guess, when their son says, I don't want to be here anymore, you take it the worst way possible. And I'm actually very fortunate that she did take it that way. She said, let's go to the hospital and let's go check you out. Let's go get you checked out. And I have been putting that off for the longest time, doing that. I knew it was something that probably will help. It'll probably put me forward on my path of what's going to make me maybe a little bit better in life. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And it was probably the greatest decision I made. While I was there, and I was in the crisis unit, I was laying in the bed, and I was by myself, and I was there for, I think, about, I want to say like maybe 12 hours, and I spoke to someone, and they asked me, what do you want from all of this? And I said, I want to talk to somebody. And I got signed up with therapy, and that right there was, that day changed. I went from not wanting to even discuss depression or anxiety, even think about it, to getting myself checked into a hospital, to getting a therapist, and to speaking openly about it, and to figuring it all out in a matter of 48 hours. And if I never did that and I never made that change, I wouldn't have become who I am today. Wow. It is. And I went through I think I went through 3 therapists, actually, in total. My first guy that I went to, I'm pretty sure he spoke to himself the whole time. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, there were times that I walked in there, and if there was a number counter above his head, it would hit 3,000, and mine was probably 15. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know why I came here today, but okay, here we go, or this, whatever. Yeah. So on my third one is when she was the one who, guided me a little towards medication, and that kind of put me where I needed to be as far as the mental state and stuff like that. But at first, I had the biggest stigma about therapy. No one wants to hear you talk about yourself, or they're getting paid to just sit there, they're going to tell you everything. They got a checklist of, oh, if you say this, but I think just the a lot of people, I guess I could say males too, a lot of males, it's hard to talk sometimes. And I think just trying to break that stigma of trying to just be okay with talking. It didn't matter if he was listening, I didn't, you know, or they, you know, cared about my life and they were going to see the next patient, you know, after me and switch up their whole notebook to another page. But it was one of those things that it works in a weird way. It works. I could go many ways with that. I think your most typical one is going to be he is a hippie, stoner, drug person, and, you know, peace, love, no war. And I do believe in peace and love, and I don't believe we should have war. So I guess it does kind of track with that. But there's so much more than just a look on the outside of a person. And just because I look the way I look, I don't follow a certain lifestyle. I've had so many people ask me if I wash my hair. And that's one of my greatest questions when I get asked that, because I break it down and I get into a serious mode, and I say to them, I go, you know what? All right, I'm going to tell you the secret, because not too many people know this. So I'm going to let you know. So after I'm done telling you this, you're going to have to take it to the grave. And I do what's this thing is I just take a shower. And then I use, what's that stuff called? Shampoo. I use that stuff. That stuff works wonders. And then I put that all in my hair and I get it all in there, and I take the water you use while you're taking a shower, and I rinse it all out. And then I actually, there's a second part that I use to try to make my hair conditioner. I actually throw some of that in to try to make my hair look a little bit decent, and then I rinse all that out. And yeah, and I just let it dry. But yeah, so I love that's probably the biggest misconception is, do you wash your hair? And I love breaking that down for people, because the fact that there have been people I've known for years, and when they actually ask me that question, I say to them, do you mean to tell me this entire time I've known you? I've known you for 5 years. You mean to think that for 5 years, 365 days in a year, I've never washed my hair? Oh boy, it's hard sometimes to deal with it, because I think that is probably the greatest misconception at the end of the day, if I really think about it.
That is funny.
How it led into that, but that when, just now that I think about it, like getting asked that question,
it's wild.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. I've been asked that question of some of people that are good friends of mine, and I literally look at them and I say, I'm going to let that slide. That's okay. I'm going to let it slide, but I need you to know that that's wild. That's wild. You thought that.
That's I hate to say, like, I'm not surprised people ask that, because they're just not used to seeing.
And there's myths and there's stories, and I'm sure there's people that do it and go all natural, but I get way too many compliments on my hair. I get told it's well taken care of, the maintenance on it is good, and that's my favorite compliment at the end of the day, is when someone says, I love your hair. And I'd be damned if I just didn't not take care of it. Yeah. It means something to me. I actually, started growing my hair after I checked out of the hospital. Like, I cut my hair one last time. May was the hospital, and August was my haircut. And I said, I'm going to buzz it down. Got a number 2 crew cut, and that was it. I said, I'm going to grow my hair out from that day forward, and it's going to represent everything. It's going to represent all my knowledge, all my wisdom, all my energy. It means something. So I'll be damned if I don't wash my hair. Recently, recently, in October of 2025, a few months ago, my stepfather passed away. And he would come over here every day and spend time with his daughter, my sister, and he would take our dog, our family dog, for a walk. So there'd be times that I would be sitting on my porch outside, and he would come walking through the yard with the dog, or I might be hanging out in my car outside, and he'd come walking past. And after he passed away and I realized that that wasn't going to happen anymore, I found myself sitting in my car, no music, no nothing, staring straight and waiting for someone to walk past. And I haven't figured it out yet. So I guess the silence still happens, because there are times when I do it still. But it is one of those things where when it is going on, I wasn't ready to never see that person simply walk by again with our dog. So I think that would be the loudest silence, is while I'm sitting in my car waiting for him to walk by. And when I realize it's not going to happen, that's kind of when I decide to turn the music on and maybe watch a video or something like that. But yeah. Ironically, it didn't happen right away, because while I was going through the process and while I was dealing with everything, I had to figure out what was wrong. I didn't really know what the issue was, or what was wrong, or what would trigger or cause these issues. So after a while, I think what I found out from talking to my therapist and stuff like that, and just sharing stories and touching on little things, I didn't like myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was looking at in the mirror. So I reached for self-love. That was what I realized I needed, was I needed to love myself. And I actually came home one day and I put big Post-its on my mirror, and I covered the mirror, so where I would normally stand and look at the mirror, I was covered by the Post-its. I couldn't see myself, because that was what I was upset with, was myself. But the Post-its, instead of seeing myself, I saw the Post-its, and the Post-it said, I can breathe, I can walk, I can talk, I can feel, I can hear, I can see, I can do whatever I want. I have two hands, I have two legs, I have a voice. There were so many people in the world, and there are so many people in the world that don't have two hands, don't have two legs, they can't see, they can't hear. And I am very fortunate that I get all of that. And I wouldn't have realized that without learning to love myself, because loving myself allowed me to be like, well, yeah, you are able to do all of these things. You should love yourself. You're a good person, and now go spread the word out to everybody and teach self-love. And loving myself helped me, I guess, tell other people to love themselves. I think Dr. Seuss said, it is truer than true, you are youer than, there was no one alive who was more youer than you. And that's, you're the only you. You only get one of you, and it's, it would be a waste to not like yourself. I think my most proud scar would be moving to Florida when I was 23 years old. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and I'm the only one that has actually moved out of state and lived on their own out of state for a little bit, and it was for 4 years. And the reason why I'm proud of that scar is because while I was down there, the families I met and the connections I made, till this day, it's a weird thing to say, but I feel like if I were to pass away, I could potentially have a funeral in 2 separate states. And I don't know how many people can do that. Most people make their impact in their hometown, and that's where they're celebrated. But I made a decent impact in Florida while I was down there. And I still make contact with families and people till this day. Every time I go down to visit, I make it a point to see some of my old kids and stuff like that. And I would have never made that connection with those families and those kids if I never moved, if I decided to stay in Schenectady and just figure it out here. But going to Florida and letting go of my mom, who was my rock, I relied on her for everything. My friends, I didn't really know too many people down in Florida. I went from, let's say, knowing 100 people to knowing 5. So I think doing that and making that happen would be my proudest scar. I actually was involved with the Boys and Girls Club up here at the time, and I had a friend, my roommate Megan, who was still living down in Florida. She was working for the Boys and Girls Club in Tampa Bay, and she actually was given a director position to where she was opening up her own club, and she was told that she gets to hire her staff. And she kind of knew that things were going a little weird here and stuff like that. So she said, hey, if you can move down here, I got a job for you. Like, you can work. Like, you'll get money. You can work. And we'll figure out rent after that. Like, right now, I'm in a lease with my place now, so you don't have to pay me rent now because clearly I'm here. So if you want to just come in, sleep on the couch for a couple months, and then we'll get an apartment and we'll find a place that's affordable. And that was it. Like, just going down there and just her working for the Boys and Girls Club and walking into that job of a Boys and Girls Club where I kind of already was familiar with it because of working up here. It just made it that much easier. It wasn't like going from something I didn't know to something completely different. It was kind of, all right, it's just a different state, different kids, different families. And ironically, it was better. It was easier. The families cared a little bit more down there in certain situations. The families trusted us too. That was another big thing. It was very Hispanic populated, so you don't see too many. Megan was a white female, and I'm a white male, and we were running this very Hispanic dominated Boys and Girls Club, and you don't see too many families, I guess, trust their kids with 2 strangers all day long. And the parents, they were great. We used to have family dinners. We would have family potlucks. We would have 80 kids and 30 parents all together serving dinner and having a good time. We had family night outs. Like, it was such a great family moment that we had. And I want to say that doing that with them was definitely one of the greatest moments of my life, is just being a part of that Boys and Girls Club era in that time. That was a great moment. And one of my biggest regrets is that I'm not this person down there. Yeah. I wish I was this person down there, but it had to happen, Life is strange. I've dealt with a lot of death. I'm 37 years old, and I have probably about 40 prayer cards in my car for friends, family, relatives, friends of friends, because I care for them and they lost someone that was special to them, so I went and supported them. So the people that aren't here anymore, I find myself very fortunate to be here. So I push on for them. I have a friend who was murdered in 2014. His name was Wayne. And he was a great kid. Wayne Best, man. And I played lacrosse with him in high school. He was well known throughout the neighborhood. And during a time period while I was living in Florida, I came up for Thanksgiving, and it was the night before Thanksgiving, and it was, that's the big go out night. So we went out, and Wayne was actually out at the bar, and I was fortunate enough to have a general conversation with him. And 2 weeks later, he was shot and killed. And he was one of those kids that, I'll always look at him as a kid, but he was one of those people that he should be here. He was always around. You always saw him. He was always riding his bike. He worked at Price Chopper, so you always saw him there. And he should be here. And that situation was so hard for me and so many other people that because he should be here, I want to be here. I want to be here for him. I want to be here for other people that aren't here anymore. One of my best childhood friends passed away. It'll be 5 years ago this year. And I grew up with him and spent every weekend with him and his family at his house. And he's another one. He should be here. And because he's not, I need to keep pushing for people that aren't here anymore. So that's what keeps me going. Every day can be the best day ever. It doesn't matter what you do. If you woke up and you just wanted to sit on the couch every day, that's what you wanted to do. That's the best day ever. You did what you wanted to do. The best day ever doesn't have to be categorized as something extravagant or something amazing or something awesome happened. It could just simply be you did what you wanted to do and you had a good day. And that could be the best day ever. And if you make every day the best day ever, are you having a bad life? I guess as hard as it would say is, the older I've gotten, you meet people in life, and it doesn't matter, I guess, how long you've known them for. You could meet someone tomorrow that could have just as good as intentions for you, if not better, than someone you've known your whole life, who you've made have spent every day with. And I think that right there is something that can be taken away from, because if you spend your whole life thinking that because this person is close to you or they've been around you, they're supposed to be loyal to you, you're going to be very, very disappointed. So it doesn't matter how long I've known someone or how much they've been a part of my life. I'm willing to cut off any type of negative vibe or energy that isn't going to mix with my vibe or energy. And I've had friends that I've known for 30 years. 30 plus years, because now I'm 37, and I met him when I was about, maybe 4 or 5 years old. So we're not as close friends anymore. And the reason for that is because life happens along the way, but you also realize that your energy should be shared with likewise energy. And I like to look at life like we're balloons. We're inflated. And when you spend energy on people, you lose a little bit of your air and your balloon shrinks. The only way for that air to get back into it is by other people providing energy to blow up that balloon. So if you spend so much time around negative energy and people that aren't going to blow up your balloon, you're going to be a very big deflated mess. And I think when you're willing to cut off people that aren't going to help you with that, it's a hard move, but it's worth it. Yeah, I was gonna say, when you surround yourself with enough people, your cup's never empty, right, and your balloon's never deflated, yep, and you could spend the entire day pouring energy into everybody else, and you're still fulfilled because you have that much to give. It's when you get to the point to where you don't have enough to give, it's when you got to take a step back and, hey, this person right here, that's a lot of my energy is going to this person, and I'm not getting a lot back from that person, so we got to take a step back. Yeah, it's, you know, friends are weird because you grow up with people, and sometimes you think that you're supposed to be this person's friend because you've been around them your whole life, or they were a part of something your whole life. And like I said before, you could meet someone tomorrow and you're like, wait, how come you never had that thought or idea? And you've been around me forever. How did this person automatically see me and say, wait, I could do this with, you know, and wow, you see something in me that this person didn't, and okay. And that's when you separate. That's when you, what's going to be worth my time. As cliche as it sounds, everything happens for a reason. And I use that for myself because I became this person of who I am today by hitting the lowest part in my life. And to be able to go from that to this, it's a very uncanny feeling because you spent so much time beforehand being a certain way that when you change your thoughts and philosophies, you become a new person. So at the end of the day, I think along with everything happens for a reason is don't be afraid to start over. I tell people I'm 37 years old because I was born in 1988. I'm 10 years old at the end of the day. I feel like my life went through cycles, and this current cycle that I'm on started in 2016 when I left the hospital. I feel like every day has been a day that I was new to this world. New philosophies, new theories, new friends. I've made some great friends these past 10 years. And I don't know if I would have made them if I was who I was before. But don't be afraid to start over. If you aren't liking who you are, or you don't have the self-love that you have, do what you need to do it. I started off by taking a selfie a day for almost 2.5, 3 years straight, and I would just post it, and that was when I was trying to learn to love myself. And I said to myself, I'm just gonna take a selfie and post it out there, and whoever likes it, likes it. And I ended up meeting people along the way that, you inspire me. When's the next selfie coming out? Can I take it with you? Can I be in the selfie with you? And that was such a great time period for me because while I was learning to love myself, I was getting other people that were loving me, and they were loving me while I was trying to love myself. I was doing something for myself, and they were just jumping in and being a part of it. And starting over and doing that entire process and chapter, I do it all over again. I would start over. When I get to that bad point, if I need to, I would start over again. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't grow up. Love your inner child. I write to my younger self all the time, and I hope my younger self is proud of me, because I'm proud of me. And I try to remind myself every day about my younger self. I have things all around my room that keep me grounded to my inner child, and I'm not afraid of that. It's okay. I'm still a grown adult. I work. I take care of myself. I do everything I need to do, but I like to have fun, and I enjoy things. I like enjoying things that remind me of my childhood. So don't be afraid. Don't grow up. Enjoy your childhood and embrace your childhood. Love your inner child.